I'm Daniel from Yonder, and I'm here together with my colleague Mihai Buhai, one of our BU directors. And we've talked in the past about modernizations, and one thing we've said is usually you shouldn't do a one-to-one migration of your application just for technical reasons, but still there are cases when you need to do that. So I want to ask Mihai, based on his experience with different products, which would be the best practices when you're doing a one-to-one migration? What should you do and what shouldn't you do so that your product will be successful, adopted on the market, and not just built, but actually used by the end customers?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Daniel. So based on our experience, what we found it very productive when doing on one-to-one modernization is to make sure that the customers, the current customers of the existing application, are on board, together with you on this journey for building the new application. And what I mean by this is that once you start developing, the new application, the modernized one, it should be very close, to the existing one in such a way that the gap between, the functionalities or the experience that you're having with the existing application and the new application is not that big. Because if this gap will be too big, you might fall into
into a challenge, into a problem.
Into a problem that the existing users will not be able to adopt the new application.
But then I still have a question for you, because I've been in a situation where we're building a web application and we had to tone it down so much that it almost looked like a character application because that's what the customer was using. And then I'm like, what's worth? Is it worth putting all the effort into building all this cool web UI if you have to simplify it to a level where it looks like the old character or whatever servlet application before?
So it's not about that you have to simplify in such a way. It is about, I think, that you have to make this transition very smooth. So you need to be able to bring the most important features that the existing customer base is using in such a way that there won't be such a huge difference when migrating from one application to another. And then of course as the time will pass, what will happen is that you're going to add new features only into the new application in such a way that there we will create the kind of need for the new applications to be adopted.
Okay, and actually we were talking a few minutes ago about if you don't force it, if the users have the fallback scenario where they can still go back to the old application to use some features, if they are not able to do so in the new one, it gives them a level of comfort so that they are not rejecting the application outright.
Yes, it gives them a level of comfort, and I think it's very common in our nature. If we're doing something and we're used and we know how to do it, it's not that less people are very early adopters of new technologies. And if you're looking at the users of the current software product companies, they are not users that are very used with Facebook, Twitter, new types of application, but they still like their old applications because they know how to do their job. So it is important to get them on this journey and ask them how they would like the new applications to look like in order for them to adapt it. And that's what we found it very, very helpful for our customers.
Okay, and one more question: what have you seen as the way we can help as a partner in software development our customers make a good migration strategy for their product? Besides developing it, of course, what else can we do in that regard?
I think one of the most important thing is the fact that we as Yonder and our people have been have witnessed a lot of applications or experiences like this. So what's happening usually when the customers ask for a modernization, of course, and they might have their own reasons, but when it comes to the process itself, sometimes they need some guidance. And us, and Yonder, by having seen a lot of similar experiences and modernization, in our history, it's easy to guide them to this process. So I would say our expertise.
Okay, and how, and I'm not sure you can answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I'll try, please.
Okay, what do we do different today compared to what we've been doing, let's say, 5 years ago?
That's a tough question because I'm not sure what kind of things we're doing 5 years ago.
Okay.
No, but it's definitely we're paying much more attention to why are we doing things. So we're not just taking orders. We want that applications modernized one-to-one. So first, it's about we try to understand why, and that's very, very important. And this is the culture we try to build in Yonder in the last 5 years. On the same time, after we understand, we're very prepared, or we try to come up with a good plan to achieve that modernization. And here we have a very good professional with good expertise on modernization, and they know what are the pitfalls, what are the wins, how they should organize the teams, how they should motivate the team, because as you might imagine, sometimes it might be not very motivating for a team, to work on the modernization project. So it is also about how you structure your internal team, and then how do you set expectations and how do you communicate with your customers in terms of the, milestones, releases, what's happening there. And of course, on top of this one, it's that the nature of the people that we're having in those kind of assignments, proactive people that are asking questions that are challenging the status of the application, even though it's a one-to-one migration. Sometimes they ask, okay, why this should happen, and customers usually appreciate this.
Okay, well, I can tell you one mistake we've done in the past for sure, and I'm not sure it was 5 years ago, more or less, but just out of high drive, making commitments to finish huge ones without really taking the time to analyze everything around it. And that was actually managing expectations or mismanaging expectations. And I think we've gotten a lot wiser in terms of the time we take to analyze what's needed and even to give an opinion regarding the road ahead. Because there are situations where if we're not comfortable with a certain platform, I think it's important to share that. Of course, there are situations where we're the ones proposing the platform, but there are situations where the customer knows very well what they want, and it's our duty to have a second opinion and to do our best to give our input regarding the choices made.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Okay, any final advice to somebody who's thinking about rewriting their application from scratch?
I think it's important nowadays to keep in sync with what's happening on the market and what's happening on with your competitors. So and I would advise them if there is about to invest in a modernization, and if this one proved to be something that will bring them new users or keep or help them to keep the current customer base, to do it, because it pays back as long as you do it with someone who has the right expertise to do it, and I'm referring here to both technical but also management expertise, because sometimes it can be a tough journey, and if expectations are not clear from the beginning, it's or are not managed properly, it's going to be difficult. But I would recommend to do it, because if you don't do it, it's still a decision that you are making, and that means that your business can go down.
Well, yes, for sure there are situations when moving away from a certain platform is a life or death choice. There are also situations where staying on that platform, and especially if it's a huge investment, it's better just to use that, reuse it, and build on top of that. But in essence, what we're saying is what's really important is to communicate well both to your customers and to your partner with whom you're doing the modernization, because as long as you align well the expectations, the reasons why, and the roadmap ahead, the chances of success are much higher.
Yeah, definitely.
And one more question, Mihai, about modernizations. We're busy here with rewriting software. What should we do regarding the current customers? How do you see that happen? Because rewriting it might take a couple of years. So what do you do about the current market?
Yeah, what's usually happening is rewriting is really exciting, because you see new features, and everyone at the team, at the customer side, they are very, very excited about what's happening with the new product or with the rewrite product.
What we're cooking inside.
Yeah, what they're cooking inside. But then, usually what we've seen also happening is that you tend to forget about your existing applications, the one that brings you revenues in, and the existing customers. And then you tend not to allocate the right, amount of focus and effort to make sure that you're still going to deliver them, the features that they need according to, regulations or whatever changes. So I found this very, very important. And even though sometimes for us, as a development partner, may mean that there will be less time for us to talk about the new application or the one that is modernized. We still try to convince the customer that it's important to take care of the existing application.
Yeah, actually, based on that, we saw that when you do a modernization, it's good to have actually two teams. One working on the current application with the current customers and keeping things moving forward, and a separate team fully focused on the modernization. And when that team is not fully separate, there will always be operational emergencies which will divert their attention, and you never get anywhere with the modernization. So the risk is that it's going to drag a long time if you don't separate the teams, but also if you don't have the team really caring about the current customers on the current product, there's also the big danger that you just mentioned.
Exactly. And what's important for, from a team's perspective, it's great to have them separated. But from a motivation perspective, you just need to make sure, that you'll give each and everyone a chance to, maybe work on both teams, because they would also like to work on new features because they want to be part of the new success of the company. But on the same time, they also, need to take care of the existing application. So it's important from a motivation perspective to,
sure. So again, there can be shared people across the teams, but in terms of team management, there should be two different tracks to make sure that both priorities are being met in time.
Yeah, and equally, let's say, weighted in terms of importance.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.